17th, a week from today. So I think in terms of questions tonight, we're just, obviously question one's going to start with me. We're just going to go around the room to my right and then circle back with Steve for question 5, 6, and 7 on that side of the room. I'll go ahead and keep the time as well. I don't think if there's any question, we can discuss placement of those that are just going to be elevated into, that are currently, trying to think of the term. They're alternates today. Yeah, reappointments, alternates. We could probably discuss that tomorrow night. I don't think we have to have that information tonight, but any questions from members of council before we start off here at about 5:10?
Do we know who dropped out?
Sarah, do you happen to know the names? I know you were standing next to me, but no, I could find out.
Sarah has them.
Yeah, the other Sarah has them, but I can get that information.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Great.
Shauna Barnes and Samuel Cohen were the two that dropped out.
Shauna Barnes and, I'm sorry, who else?
Samuel Koenig.
Samuel Koenig.
Oh, okay.
I heard that one.
Too many.
Thank you.
Too many S's.
Okay,
And nobody for tomorrow then?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. So we do have Liz Jordan outside if we want to begin. I'm not sure if you guys want a minute or.
I'm still trying to pull up the pack.
Okay.
Packet here. If I could have just.
today.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it doesn't look like they vacancies open to you.
Yeah.
For the Parks and Rec. Yeah, actually, it's really a good one. Have you been on it? Parks and Rec?
I'm not a founder, I am. You're the ones.
Is it only one, or is there more? Five on that spot? Just the one.
Okay, I've got it pulled up now, so I'm ready whenever.
All right. Everyone else ready to go or? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's here tonight for this?
Elizabeth, we're ready for you. We're gonna have you sit at this end here. Yes. Right here.
Hi.
Yeah.
Not really a hot seat.
Right.
I'm a trial lawyer.
Should be good.
Well, good afternoon, Liz. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. Do you go by Liz or Elizabeth?
My friends call me Liz.
Liz,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer the 7 questions. If there's any time remaining at the end, then you can ask any questions of us. So are you ready to begin? Sure. Perfect. All right, Elizabeth, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood Board or Commission at this time?
Yeah, so I've applied for the Sustainability Commission specifically, and I think 2 things have been happening that kind of caused me to throw my hat into the ring in the last couple of weeks. The first is I have a 3-year-old, and for the first time, my husband and my 3-year-old had to leave the playground before 11 a.m. before Memorial Day because the equipment got so hot. And so I've just been thinking about, how do we, like, first of all, what kind of planet are we leaving for my kid? And second of all, how do we mitigate some of that that's making it so hot for her, and how do we also adapt so that she can have, you know, the childhood outside like I did. So that's one. And then the other one is we've been renovating our house, and we have a house that's about 100 years old, trying to make it more efficient, you know, take advantage of new technologies and things like that. And so A, that's been top of my mind because it's, you know, all consuming and very expensive. And B, I've been doing a lot of research on kind of what's out there, what's available, how do I make that stuff work for my house? And I think, you know, it's caused me to really think about that and look at a bunch of this information up and think about how do we share that information for other homeowners, other community members. And so just, I think between those two things, sustainability has been on the brain.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Rita.
My question is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board and commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on the boards or on the board or commission you prefer?
Sure. So I can think of a couple of things. So I'm a lawyer, and right now I'm teaching. So I think some skills that I've developed with those professions are I'm an avid reader. I think I would be a contributor to the research and kind of knowledge base on the commission. You know, I read technical language, legal language a lot. So thinking about, you know, I've seen you all talking about a tree ordinance and things like that. I'm interested in sort of how do you actually craft language that's going to work for a city like Inglewood. As an educator, I do a lot of work across culture, across class, across language to share information. And so thinking about sort of the public-facing work of the commission and how do we make materials that are accessible for Inglewood residents? How do we present information? I think those are some things that I can bring.
Thank you.
Tina.
Good evening. Please describe an experience in the past in which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Sure. So I practice immigration. So there are as many views as people to hold them, including amongst people who, you know, are in the same space. And so I've been on big coalitions where we've had to sort of reach consensus across a wide variety of viewpoints, people who are lawyers, people who are community members, people who are directly impacted, people who are on the opposite side of the issue. And just, I think that I've learned a lot about problem solving, being clear with my position, also accepting other people's positions, being respectful of differences. So that's one example. The other thing I can think of is I lived in Brooklyn for a long time, and we had a big food co-op there. And it was a self-governed food co-op, and I participated in the governance efforts. And there were, you know, again, as many opinions as there were people in the room. And so figuring out sort of what the priorities were, what the consensus was for things like how are we going to present food that is affordable and culturally sensitive and economically sustainable or environmentally sustainable, things like that. So I've thought about things in coalition quite a bit in particular.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
What do you like most about Inglewood?
I love this question. So Inglewood to me is this great, like we live on a quiet block, but I can walk to Fellow Traveler. We can get to the park in about 3 minutes with my kid, but we get to have these big, important conversations because we are part of, you know, a massive, increasingly massive kind of almost megapolis at this point, from Fort Collins down to Colorado Springs. And so I think the mix of being small, being able to email the mayor and tell him that the stop sign in front of the preschool was not safe, and so getting it converted from a 2-way to a 4-way stop, like that kind of an actual concrete contribution is something that I've been able to do since living in Inglewood, but being part of this larger environment where choices Inglewood makes can really ripple and you know, impact a lot of people.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. What would you like to see, if anything, improved in Inglewood regarding the board or commission that you apply to?
Sure. So I'll caveat this by saying I'm still learning, and I would like to know more about what the board does before I offer a lot of feedback on what else they should be doing. So I've been listening to their meetings and looking at some of their materials, but I'm gonna, come back to me if you put me on this one, come back to me in 6 months and I'll give you a more fulsome answer. But I think it's really critical that all Inglewood residents, regardless of language, citizenship status, economic status, have the opportunity to practice sustainable practices and contribute to the direction of the city in a way that kind of keeps it sustainable. So I'm interested in seeing the Sustainability Commission continue to generate and do more to do public education and information sessions. We do those in languages that are not English. And I think one thing I've noticed is taking the opportunity of the city council meetings to kind of present a little bit more information about what the commission is up to and kind of why they're taking some of the steps that they're taking for a general audience. So I guess that's a roundabout way of saying more communication.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Needingham. I represent District 2, which is the northeast side of the city. As you may know, the Sustainability Commission meets on the second Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. in this room. Do you see attendance being an issue for you at all?
No, I don't. I had a baby during the pandemic, so I was kind of pulled up for a couple of years, but she's 3 now. I think I've got my feet under me as a parent enough to make a commitment to a monthly evening meeting.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Jordan. I'm Joe Anderson, representing District 3. My question for you is, how would your service on the Sustainability Commission benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, either personally or professionally?
Sure. I think the benefits personally of contributing to sustainability, climate adaptability, things like that, they're enormous, right? For me personally, for my family, for all of us. So that to me feels really obvious. I'll just also add professionally, I think I always learn from being in new places, new contexts, and engaging in these kind of community efforts. So I think the upsides feel really big for a couple hours a month.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Jordan, we still have about 2 minutes. Any questions that you happen to have for us?
Yes, I would like to know kind of how you all see the feedback you get from the Sustainability Commission and how you're incorporating that into council work and especially kind of council priorities.
Anybody want to weigh in at first, or should I start?
Or Joe's the liaison.
No, I'm the liaison.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Then yeah, it would be great to.
So it's been interesting work that they put forward, that they've done as a group. And obviously, as a council, I think it's no surprise we all have different ideas of how far we want to go with sustainability within the group itself or within city council. But I think part of the reason why I put together the group was to get an idea of what it is that the public wanted to see Inglewood take a part of. And so I think they are fulfilling that mission. I think a lot of the things that they're bringing forth are things that are very interesting. It's just that there's still a lot of work, I think there's still more information that needs to be presented to us in order for us to make a educated judgment on whether or not it's the best for Inglewood. And what I mean by that is just, we also have to consider budget in terms of part of anything that comes forth in front of us. But I think they've done a great job at, you kind of alluded to the tree ordinance. There's also the native plant ordinance that they've been that was brought forth this past week. So there is a lot of good work going on, but we also have to kind of just identify how that fits in with our strategic plan and how we can have that fit within the budget itself. So I think they've done great work. It's just that, they've only been in place, 2 years now or so, somewhere around there. So yeah, it's been very beneficial though. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll add in just a little because I've been, I was formerly the liaison and I really enjoyed it, especially there's so much passion. Everybody on the Sustainability Commission is very passionate about sustainability. And I think one of the things that was kind of hard between me and the commission, and I had a great time with the commission, but they were surprised when I voted against some things that turned out. But I think it's something the mayor was speaking to is that we're considering, kind of a broad range of different priorities, not just sustainability. And so a lot of the ideas that come forward from the commission are aspirational, and then we got to instantiate those in reality, and that sometimes doesn't mean we go quite as far as the commission wants, but it's a good relationship.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Jordan, thank you very much for your time tonight. We're going to go ahead and deliberate after tomorrow's night's session. We'll look to make placements. We'll vote on the changes or the placement next Monday. but we appreciate your time and thank you very much for wanting to serve.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Hello. Good afternoon, Ms. Coleman.
Afternoon.
Thank you very much for making time for us today.
Thank you.
Ms. Coleman, my name is Othaniel Sierra. I'm mayor as well as city council member for District 1. Tonight, Ms. Coleman, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there is any time available at the end of the 10 minutes, or if there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of us. Are you ready to begin?
I am.
Perfect. Let me go ahead and set the clock.
Great.
So my first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
I'm at a good spot now where I can commit more time, and I went through the elevated Inglewood and I went through the planning committee, and it got me just excited to get more involved. And I've been to a couple council meetings, so it kind of sparked an interest and got me excited.
I'm glad we were able to do that. Go ahead, Member Russell.
Absolutely. I'm Rita Russell, and I'm a council member at large. My question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, and/or abilities would you bring to this board or commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on the board and commissions you apply?
I have skills. I can listen and take opinions and not judge right off the bat, listen to both sides and form an opinion that way. I think being a little bit older, I have skills of patience. I don't, no knee-jerk reaction, and I can, that's what I can do.
Absolutely. Those are great skills. Thank you.
Member Frank.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question is, or kind of an ask is, please describe an experience in the past in which you've worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
At the job I'm at, I'm on the Health and Wellness Committee, so we have a very big, diverse group. Plus, we have to report to the president. So a lot of times, we each have our own agenda, what we want to see, what the health and wellness we want to do. So you have to present it in a way that is informed and why you want it. And even though the president may say no, you can kind of back it up with information that proves that, this might be the best thing for us. Think that answered the question?
Member Wright.
Hello. I am one of the 3 at-large council members. What do you like most about Inglewood?
I think the diversity, not only in the people, but in the architecture, there's so much diversity. From the restaurants we have to the buildings, and just everything about the diversity, I think, would be what I love the most.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. Can you tell us what, if anything, you'd like to see improved regarding the board or commission that you applied to?
I think because it's so new, and I really didn't even hear about it until recently. I think just getting the word out there that this is a new and what's it about, and just getting it out to the community.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Newton-Camp. I'm City Council member for District 2. As you may be aware, the Historic Preservation Commission, which I think is what you're applying
Yes.
for, meets on the 3rd Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m.
Yep.
On this floor. Do you see attendance being any issue for you?
No, one bit.
Wonderful.
When I commit, I commit.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Ms. Coleman. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. My question for you is how would your service on the Historic Preservation Commission benefit you either personally or professionally?
I think personally, it would get me out to meet more of my neighbors, not just close neighbors on my block, but neighbors all over Inglewood. And it gets me my foot in the door to see what else there is out there that I can help with or volunteer with, and just to get to know my neighbors.
Very good, thank you.
Ms. Coleman, just a quick question for you. I know we went through the 7, but would you be interested in being a part of any other commission if there was room available?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and we have plenty of time. Any questions that you happen to have for us?
Not that I can think of. I'm just so excited about all of this.
No, thank you very much for making time for us, Ms. Coleman. Actually, how did you hear about the commission? Was it part of the?
It was part of the planning, the
Okay.
very last night of the planning.
Okay,
We had some speakers there,
okay,
and one of them was on the preservation committee. And it's,
well, that's great.
wow, I didn't even know about that. And then I had been thinking about doing one of the committees or boards for a while, and it, nothing really, and then that one really sparked me, and then I got looking at other ones, and oh my gosh, library, I love the library, I wanted a library, and I was like, why haven't I done this sooner?
Was the Historic Inglewood Museum talked about at all?
We brought it up. There was, one of the ladies is on the board, and I had been when they opened up, so we brought it up, but it wasn't necessarily talked about there.
Okay.
But it's really a cute place. I love it.
Right.
I really love it.
So I'm the liaison for historic preservation.
Oh, okay.
And they're working very hard on trying to get the word out on people that could qualify for designation for historic buildings and stuff. And that's part of what they're looking at on wanting to, let people know where. Because we do have several buildings that have been designated nationally and by the state. It'd be great for Inglewood to do that also. So it'd be fantastic to have people that, it's a great group that are very passionate, that have great ideas and stuff like that. So to add to that, melting pot of people that are very passionate would be. And I know your house was built in 1911.
1911, my house was built. We have the handwritten abstract title where he'd sell it off to the railroad and then buy it back.
And has your house been?
No, I didn't know we could until just the other night, and so I was going to look into it and see if we could get that designation.
Well, I know some people that
Well, Ms. Coleman, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We have another night of interviews, so after tomorrow night, we'll go ahead and deliberate internally. We'll make a final decision next Monday night during the council meeting, and at that point, somebody from our clerk's office will give you a call about placement. But thank you very much for wanting to volunteer within the city.
Great.
It was great to meet you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oreo.
Here, you can have a seat.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Just right up here.
Yeah.
Great.
And is it pronounced Delorio?
Diorio, like an Oreo cookie.
Delorio.
Yeah.
I can remember that. Delorio. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. I'm Nathaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining before we get to the 10 minutes, you're able to ask any questions of us. So are you ready?
All set, yeah.
Oh, gotta start. There we go. All right. What motivates you to apply for an Inglewood Board or Commission at this time?
Yeah, so I was definitely attracted to I applied mostly for the sustainability board, and I was most attracted to that out of just a growing interest in sustainability. It's kind of a bit of a crisis right now, looking at the environment and its situation. I am very much someone who believes you have to do your part to make a positive change, so really drawn to the mission of the committee. And I've always been someone who has been involved in my community. I enjoy volunteering, being as active as I can, so being part of a committee to really help figure out what are the next steps, how can we advise to make these positive changes, to make more sustainable choices in our community just seemed like a logical progression for me, very much next steps of where I should be. I also recently started as a marketing lead at a very, very grassroots nonprofit called Little Bit, looking at how just regular people can make a change in their everyday life to make sustainable choices. So it also came out of an interest to just learn more about how to be sustainable and really digging deep into what that looks like for an average person as well.
Thank you, Mr. Orio.
Good evening, Mr. Earl. It's really nice to have you here this evening. And, I'm Rita Russell, one of the at-large council members. The question I have for you is what knowledge, skills, and or abilities would you bring to the board and commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive impact or benefit to Englewood through your service on the board and commission?
Absolutely. So I can answer that in a couple of buckets. I've spent the majority of my career in the nonprofit sector. So while it's not government-based, there's a little bit of overlap, that idea of learning how to be very creative and do a lot with a little. I think is something I've really learned throughout my career. And I think it's really brought into me that can-do attitude. You know, you're gonna face a lot of red tape in some situations, a lot of maybe you're not able to fund all the things that you wanna do, but really trying to come up with creative solutions of how you can get around that or make something that you are really passionate about work. Other side of that, my background is in marketing and communication, so really getting messages out there, figuring out how are we going to talk about something, how are we going to brand something, I think is really essential for a committee to have. That way it doesn't just say, siloed within this room or this building, it can go out to the community, knowing how to talk to people, knowing what's going to get people interested in what you're doing. And I would say the last of it is a project management, project planning side of things, which I've done throughout my career. And it's this idea of, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I think there's a lot of, backlog that happens in so many places, and just being able to see consistent action of what you're doing and how you're trying to make change and being able to convey that message is very important. So in terms of what I think I would bring to this committee, I think I've got the skill sets that I mentioned. And really, I believe that things born out of a genuine interest and desire to improve the community are where you see the most positivity, because you won't give up on things. And if we don't do something about our sustainability issues now, we're really in for a long haul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm one of your at-large council members. And my ask of you this evening is to describe an experience in the past in which you've worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives. Absolutely. So I will actually take this a little far back in time. I attended an international graduate school. So in a lot of projects, we worked in cohorts. It was maybe 5 people in a group. And I was often the only American in the room. It was the nature of the program. So we had a lot of conflicting ideas as we moved forward on a project of what we were supposed to do, things that some people might consider very surface level in terms of understanding, like what does a deadline mean, was not always the same across different cultures. So looking at one specific example, in one of my projects for said master's program, our project was related to innovative solutions for healthcare issues. And we looked at this one company that worked on sustainable options for women's sanitary products. And we had
men on my team from cultures where they just did not engage in that topic. So it was very difficult for them to work on that topic. And I'm going into this like, yeah, okay, this is the project. This is just what we have to do. So it was not only getting the work done in the project, but getting them to understand we had to do the project at all. It's a fun time. But I think in the moment, what we did to move action forward, a lot of, okay, I'm getting to the root of this issue. This is what's bothering you. Walk me through that. Okay, what can we do to make you more comfortable as we talk about this topic? And it turned into, you know, it's a business project. There are gonna be moments where you don't have to engage in a topic that you're not comfortable with to do a SWOT analysis, a pestle analysis. Why don't you guys present on that? That way you're a little bit more comfortable and we can still get going on this project. And what I learned from it is sometimes you've got to make really deep compromises in order to move something forward, because in the end, having that project there and ready on the day was better than not having it at all. And fun thing that happened afterwards, subsequent teams who presented chose more controversial topics because they saw that it was okay to talk about them. So compromise was the deep one that I learned in that.
That was an excellent answer, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
Member
you.
Wright, we have about 3.5 minutes left.
Okay, so on a lighter note,
Yeah.
I'm Kim Wright and I'm another at-large member. What do you like most about Inglewood?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I would say I think there's a lot of Englewood pride just in the area, which is so fun. I think it's a community that really has a good sense of itself. I think there's been a lot of rejuvenation in the community recently. This center as a whole is just so beautiful. There's a lot of investment in these spaces and these parks. And I really just see a lot of dedication into making Englewood its own entity and not, you know, branding it as like, oh yeah, it's this kind of side thing next to Denver. It really seems to have this, its own voice and its own power, which I think is really cool.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, which is in Southwest Englewood. And my question for you is what, if anything, would you like to see improved regarding the Board or Commission that you applied to?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the sustainable interactions that I've had with the committee, just some presentations I've gone to, this isn't so much the committee, but I've seen like limited attendance of things. And I think there's a bit of a knowledge gap with some of the larger community. Again, not a thing about the committee itself, but I think there's room there to really talk more about what the committee is doing, have more people come to these presentations. Like I went to one pretty recently about like a composting 101. So cool, so essential. And just, I think getting that message out to more people will be so formative for the committee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Member Nunica.
Apologies, thought we were running out of time. Regular attendance and engagement in the board commission is really important. Do you foresee attendance being an issue whatsoever?
Not in the slightest. If I remember, it's Tuesdays,
6:30.
Tuesdays and no problem. Okay, wonderful.
Member Anderson, a little bit over a minute.
All right, good evening. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. My question for you, how would your service on the, let's see, it was Sustainability Commission, benefit you as either personally or professionally?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned a while back now, one of my close friends recently started a sustainability nonprofit, and I've been tasked with marketing for that. So I really want to learn more about what some of the larger issues in sustainability are. What were the difficulties with communities to adopt some practices? How do you get that message out to people? And it's something that's not my educational background. I was an ecology teacher for a minute, but that was more about teaching than anything. So I really think it will help me learn more about an issue that I care about and support an organization that I'm really invested in.
Very good, thank you.
So we're just about at time now, Ms. DiOrio. Thank you very much for your time tonight. We're gonna go ahead and have a second night of meetings. After that, we'll have a internal deliberation about placement.
Sure.
Next Monday night, we'll actually announce placement with the vote. But we appreciate your time and thank you very much for your willingness to volunteer in the community. It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you all as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
So your next door neighbors, right?
Those
The last two
are-
people.
Last
Oh.
two people are next door neighbors. Word is spreading. Neighbor to neighbor.
Right here in the middle.
Over there, okay.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Is it Mr. Forlines?
4 lines, yes.
Well, good evening, Mr. Forlines. My name's Nathaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions.
Okay.
If there's any time remaining, then you are free to ask us any questions. Are you ready to begin?
I am.
All right, perfect. My first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
At this time, I've been in the city now, been in Inglewood 4 years. We moved down just from Old Lynn Park, so not far from here. So we're just really community involved. My wife and I and our 2 kids, we're in the school system. So my daughter's going to Clayton this year, my son's in Maddox. So really invested and involved in the community and want to contribute where I can. Housing is really important to me, to make sure we have affordable housing for the city moving forward and the downtown development as well. Want to make sure that that's curated in a way that is welcoming, inviting to all residents.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Member Russell.
Good evening, Mr. Forline. My name is Rita Russell, and I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you is what knowledge, skills, and/or abilities would you bring to the board and commission? In particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on the board or commission?
Yeah, great question. I think everything that I do with curiosity and wanting to learn to understand, and filter that through, a lens of creating community and inclusivity as best I can. Very engaged with our local community and bringing people together. I think my skill sets, diverse background. I was a fine dining chef for many years, came up through the Broadmoor Hotel. Then I transitioned into events, catering, and then eventually appliance sales assisting. So I was doing education in showrooms, teaching people, homeowners about new technology. And then this year in February, I got hired by the City and County of Denver in their Climate Action Department as the Cooking Electrification Administrator. So, being able to take a variety of skill sets and leverage them in ways that keeps me engaged, keeps me learning, keeps me growing. And now that I'm working in a department for the city, policy is something that's really of interest to me. Local governance, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where a lot of the work gets done. It may not be as glamorous as CNN likes to show us what national is, but I think that's where a lot of things actually happen. So, I've been want to engage in that way, in that capacity, and I've also applied recently when there was a seat open in the Inglewood School Board as well.
All right, great. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang, I'm one of the at-large council members as well. And my ask is to have you describe an experience in the past in which you've worked in a group of people with diverse backgrounds and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Yeah, so, in what I do is a lot around education, and so it's all about bringing people together, making sure that our missions and our visions are aligned. And a lot of that is by setting expectations up early and clarifying them and designating roles and learning to, what are the nice to haves and what are the have to haves in negotiation, and being able to live with letting go of some of the smaller things if it means getting the bigger project going. And so I've worked with, a lot of different groups in that capacity, a lot of different stakeholders, and part of it is having the strength to assert that this is what's going to happen, say an event or something, and getting people to buy in and support it, whether or not, you know, I say it's kind of like building a teepee. Everyone brings a stick and you don't realize that they built it, right? And it's by leaning everything up together. So it's really about finding common goals and aligning those, and then not letting the little stuff get in the way of the bigger project.
Hi there, I'm Kim Wright, I'm one of the at-large council members also. Most difficult question of the evening. What do you like most about Inglewood?
Oh, I love the small town feel, you know, next to the big city. My partner she and I have lived here 4 years and are just really pleasantly surprised to meet so many people that have had roots here for so long. You know, a lot of multi-generational families that are going to the same schools as our kids, and we're getting to meet them, and just really seeing that close-knit community is available right here in Inglewood, which from the outside, you may not distinguish, a lot of people may not distinguish Inglewood as separate from Denver or Denver Metro. But even, you know, just seeing its unique nature and that small town feel near to the big metro is really nice to be able to show our kids local community and engaging with neighbors and friends, but then also getting to expose them to the culture that the big city might offer, getting to go do something.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, which I think is where you live.
So, yeah.
In Southwest Inglewood. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions that you applied for?
I'm really interested in the downtown development. I know that survey just came out and I filled that out. I frequent several of the businesses down on the downtown strip right north of Hamden, and really liked envisioning some of the things that could be changed or improved, you know, maybe more greenery, making it a little more pedestrian focused. That crosswalk there, it's great that has a light, but maybe being able to get traffic to slow down a little bit would be really nice. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with what they call a strode, you know, it's not a street, it's not a road, it's kind of neither and doesn't do either well. So maybe we could kind of think about making it pedestrian friendly and more people will be able to enjoy their time down there. And then the housing, you know, I really, if we don't have affordable housing and we don't have a variety of housing stock, we'll lose, you know, that richness, the full tapestry that the resident demographic can offer. And I think that's really important to be able to have a community that's really diverse in many different ways so that we can all, you know, I want my kids to grow up around as many different people as possible, different viewpoints, so that they can then develop into full-rounded people.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Chelsea Needham, City Council Member for District 2. As I'm sure you know and understand, regular attendance at these meetings is really helpful for them to be effective. Your first choice, the Inglewood Housing Authority, meets the first Wednesday of each month at 4 p.m. Do you see that attendance being an issue for you?
No, I looked very closely at how often and what days the meetings were, and these aligned. I work hybrid, so I'm downtown. I'm in office just 2 days a week, and the rest would be at home or out in the field. And it's flexible enough that I am able to adjust schedule as necessary.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Forlance. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. My question for you tonight is, how would service on one of these boards benefit you personally or professionally?
I think, you know, getting to see how local governance works, to be able to know how I can impact it and help, and then also making sure that the community has a voice of, you know, my voice, and you know, that would be able to impact it. You know, I've seen some boards and things that get seats getting filled that it's like, oh gosh, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So just want to, it seems like that time of my life, that season where getting these groups secured and being engaged is really meaningful to me. To benefit, I think, like I said, the local governance, but also just policy in general and how policy gets made has been very intriguing to me through my career as it's changed quite differently. I'm now in a policy development team for Denver, and so just to see how policy gets made, all the considerations that have to go into it, you don't really think about when you're in the private sector, especially if you're a self-employed entrepreneur. You're kind of throwing stuff together and making it happen as best you can. And it's been really nice to slow down and see like, okay, when you take the broader view, you have to bring those viewpoints in and account for them. And that means taking time to do that.
Very good.
That growth, yeah.
Well, we have about 30 seconds left, Mr. Fluent, so if you have a quick question for us to answer, or do you have any?
What is the timeline on filling these positions?
So we have another night of interviews. We'll deliberate tomorrow night, but we will have placement a week from tonight.
Oh, cool.
So you'll hear pretty quickly after that, the city clerk will be reaching out to you about any placement. And just FYI, just so you know, you actually fall outside of the boundaries to sit on the DDA.
Okay.
On the downtown Denver. So
Okay.
you wouldn't be eligible for that one, but Housing Authority, you definitely would, so.
Okay, yeah, and if there's I know when I clicked the boards and commissions, there's a few different ones. So if there's need
Okay.
for others, I'm also willing to relook at.
Okay, perfect. And we'll probably have to check with you in terms of the schedule as well.
Sure.
To make sure it just fits in.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Furlong, thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
all
time.
so
We'll be back
much.
in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Appreciate it.
If we found our stride, that's just like.
Timing.
Sure just wanted you guys to know he was doing that all around. He's like, can you tell them not to be alarmed?
Did you want to tell Mr. Forlines as
He
well?
was like, pushing in. He's like, please just tell them that there's nothing going on.
Okay.
He was upset.
An ominous moment.
What was he upset about?
Who was?
What did Sarah say just now? He was upset.
Oh, no, he wasn't upset, just that he coming in doing normal rounds. I was like, you should probably tell Mr.
Oh.
Forlines as well. Okay. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Mr. Renson?
Yes.
Perfect. Mr. Renson, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. I'm Nathaniel Sierra, I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city.
Okay.
Mr. Renson, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those 7 questions. If there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of us. So are you ready to begin?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, Mr. Renson, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
This year I participated in the citizens planning.
Yep.
That group that was at the city council with you guys last week. I found it to be pretty inspiring. Ultimately, realized that the professionalism I experienced with the team from the city was really nice to be around, and so it seemed like a good reason to get involved. It wasn't, jumping into a pack of wolves, and so I felt like there was kind of a good basis, and made me sort of start thinking about why to get involved. I've lived here for about 10 years and hadn't really thought about it. But now that I run my own business as of January, I've got a little bit more flexibility to run my own schedule, to make myself available, and figured it was a good time to put my professional experience to use.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, Mr. Renson. Member Russell.
Good evening, Mr. Renson. My name is Rita Russell, and I'm one of the at-large council members. It's nice to have you. My question for you is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board and commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on the board or commission?
I'm a licensed architect in Colorado. I've got 16 years of experience working mostly in and around Denver, but kind of across the state. So I've worked on projects from ADUs to houses, townhomes, apartment buildings, hospitals, schools, commercial, retail, office space. There's really not a whole lot that I haven't touched. So I feel like I've got a lot of practical knowledge from the sort of private sector side of working with owners and sort of responding to comments from various authorities. So I think primarily understanding what the language and issues are that are going to come up in planning and zoning commission meetings. There won't be a steep learning curve in terms of the terminology, understanding what's going on. And I think having that private sector experience will enable me to sort of empathize with owners and professionals on the other side of the table, and also start to gain, understanding from the the public sector side of what the big concerns are that drive your decision-making process. And, the hope is that blending those two things will sort of make me a great asset to the commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang, I'm also an at-large council member. And tonight I'd like you to describe an experience in the past during which you've worked in a group of people that are diverse and sometimes have opposing viewpoints and perspectives.
Sure. A few years ago, I was working on 2 different AUs at the same time on opposite sides of the street in the Curtis Park Conservation District. And upon working on those, what I realized is that there was a lot of different stakeholders. So not only the owner who I was answering to, but also the local DRB Design Review Board had to say, as well as the Denver Landmark Preservation Committee. So ultimately it was 3 different separate groups that I had to make sure I was designing to appease each one of them. And I think what I found is that despite how much time I've spent, reading zoning codes, looking at diagrams in various jurisdictions, documentation, burying myself in building codes, and really just a lot of technical knowledge, is that often what you experience is that it's subjective commentary that you're facing, and you're addressing things that are not always objective. And so I think the challenge is sort of remaining calm and professional to understand when something is objective versus subjective, and figuring out the right way to respond proactively that, generally speaking, starts with relying on facts, but also understanding kind of a methodology from the professional side of when referencing precedents becomes important, because there's, infinite number of conditions, and so you can't always guarantee that something's going to show letter of the law how it can be done or not. And so being able to sort of have those conversations openly and calmly, and referencing as much fact as possible, but then touching on relevant precedent where it is sort of a subjective gray area. And ultimately, I think, being able to work with those groups means taking into consideration a lot of different people's opinions, and trying to sort of work towards a productive solution that's agreeable for everyone. Not always easy, but I think starting with the facts generally gets you there.
Thank you. Hi there. I'm Kim Wright. I'm one of the at-large council members. What do you like about Inglewood most?
I really like the size of Inglewood. It feels accessible in a way that I think a lot of other larger cities don't, even though we're obviously part of a large metropolitan area. I think that's partially why I'm even considering getting involved, as it feels like Inglewood's a scale that's well run and accessible to be involved and actually have an impact. I love walking around the neighborhood. Since I now work from home, I'm at home a lot, and so getting out and sort of walking through the neighboring streets as much as I can is a nice way to sort of see my neighbors, even if I don't know all of them. But going to all the parks, doing trivia, brewability, and trying to just continue finding the reasons to stay and hang out in Inglewood rather than go to Denver or go to the mountains, or and I found that it's gotten easier and easier to really enjoy being here.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved regarding the board or commission that you applied to?
So I haven't interfaced directly with the commission, so I can't really say practically any comments that are critical. I think it's more about feeling like my private sector experience is very relevant to being able to offer productive, proactive solutions to the people on the other side of the table. I know what it's like to be in their shoes, so I've dealt with commission members who seem sort of hardline and don't really see that gray area, which is a challenge. And I feel like I can offer like a good balance of factual information with the sort of realities of life, that not every line is parallel, not every zoning, not every property line is exactly what you'd like it to be. And so understanding how to navigate those situations in a way that doesn't hurt the neighbor, because obviously zoning is there to protect your neighbor, building codes there to protect you, generally speaking, and understanding that it's like the context of who's around you, that planning and zoning is dealing with not just the owner, it's everyone that's going to be impacted by that project.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Camp. I'm actually your city council person in District 2 and a neighbor. You applied for planning and zoning, which meets typically on Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. up to 2 times a month after regular city council meetings. Do you see regular attendance being an issue for you? I know you have some newfound flexibility in your schedule.
No, I don't think it'll be an issue. I assume that occasionally if you're out of town for vacations, it's not an issue, but generally speaking, I live less than 5 minutes from here, so it's not inconvenient for me to be here.
Great, thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Renton, Joe Anderson, District 3 Council member. My question for you tonight is how would service on P&Z benefit you either personally or professionally?
Professionally, I don't have any projects in Inglewood, at least not yet. I think really, I see the benefit professionally, really just getting a better understanding of what's on the other side of the table for when I am dealing with that in other jurisdictions. Every jurisdiction is different, but I think starting to get involved on the public sector side will help inform my professional skill set. Personally, it's really that I see Inglewood being a great place that is going to continue to grow and redefine itself internally since it's not getting bigger outwards. And I feel like it's really important to, I guess, provide input where possible to ensure that all the development that is happening is well conceived of. It's, as good as it can be, and whatever I can do to help support that is a good reason to sort of get involved.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Can I ask a follow-up here?
Sure.
Just because of your comment earlier, if you were to take on a project in Inglewood and it were to come before planning and zoning, would you be willing to recuse yourself from any activity on that project?
Yeah, certainly. I figured that was kind of a requirement if I had anything.
Right, just nice to have it on the record. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Renton, we still have about a minute and a half. Do you have any questions for us?
I guess if you could sort of give me a sense of what are the bigger issues that you guys have found, if there's anything that really dominates the conversation from people are coming to you guys with?
We only have a minute and a half.
Take the worst one.
I think I could speak to that. I think relevant to P&Z obviously is housing affordability and what our zoning code has impact on that. And then lately we've had a lot of feedback on our home occupation businesses, so home-based businesses. Those are two things that P&Z is working on and will be working on.
I'd also say that we're seeing PUDs, so land use developments coming through P&Z and industrial areas, trying to build more housing. So that's something that I think this commission engages with quite a bit. And I think more and more we're going to see more historic preservation coming through this as well, and opportunities, conservation overlays. Are there question marks about that? Other opportunities to preserve some of that. And I think that's coming.
Gotcha. And one other question. This position is an alternate position, I think. Can you explain what the difference is? Or I think that's what it said.
I believe so, yeah. So an alternate, so you wouldn't be allowed to vote on anything up front, but we always have people that drop out or regulars that drop out, so you would just be elevated at that point to see. But no, you would just be taken into the meeting. You just wouldn't be allowed to vote at that
I
point.
think you can also
Well,
vote if there's an absence.
Right, if there's not a quorum, then yes.
You're able to participate equally, it's just your vote doesn't count.
You wouldn't be allowed to vote if it's, if you have a full body and you're the alternate.
Got it.
Also, the next time we do a round of these, if there's an opening for a regular member, typically alternates have like a first consideration.
Gotcha.
To move to a regular member first.
That makes sense.
All right. Well, Mr. Renton, we're going to go ahead and deliberate after tomorrow night's meeting. We'll have a final vote on placement next Monday night. At that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will be reaching out to you about placement. So appreciate it. Thank you very much for applying and your willingness to volunteer in the city.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This is Anna.
Hello, Anna. Right over here.
Okay.
We make you take a walk.
Right in the center.
Good evening, Ms. Vega. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. My name is Othaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Ms. Vega, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you're able to ask any questions of us. So are you ready to begin? Perfect. My first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for the Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, I am interested in getting involved in local government, and I find that you can make a bigger change the more local and more involved you are with your government. affecting change, I think, starts on a grassroots level. So I've lived in Englewood now since 2021, and so I've been here a few years. I get that it's a transient town, but a few years now probably means more than it used to. So I am just excited about seeing what I can do for Englewood and making my community more relevant to me and my family. I had a baby 4 months ago, and so I'm just excited to show her the world and interact with it and make it a world that I want to give to her.
Sounds great. Congratulations.
Yes. My name is Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or ability would you bring to the board or commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Englewood through your service on the board or commission you've chosen?
So I am applying for the sustainability. And my husband and I are, I'll say farmers with quotation marks. He owns a property in Lafayette, and so we own property up there and have a small scale farm. Our big dream is to eventually get land and be farmers on a broader scale, but we have a very strong passion for regenerative agriculture. And so I bring that up to say that I care a lot about our environment and our world, particularly from a regenerative agriculture perspective. And I think that while this isn't, Englewood is not per se an agricultural city by any means, I do think that those passions and some of the skills that we have with our farming can carry and kind of transcend into more of a sustainability and a mindset to create a world that is regenerative and not just sustainable, but truly improving.
Perfect. And you might find out that Englewood's more agriculture than you think.
Does it actually have zoning for agriculture in?
No.
Okay.
Well, not,
I know parts of
not farm
Lakewood do.
animals, but
Okay.
you can have chickens and things
We
like
have
that.
chickens.
Okay.
Just not goats.
Just not goats.
Just not like you can in Detroit.
Can't actually sell, so.
Yeah.
Working on that.
Go ahead, Member Brink.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. And my ask this evening is to have you describe an experience for us in the past in which you've worked in a group with diverse opinions and sometimes opposing viewpoints and perspectives.
So I thought of this, and I think the most relevant, I'm also a physician assistant, that's my day job. So I work at Denver Health, and I work in cardiology, so very different from government, but we are a paragovernment institution. And I think that's the most salient example I have of every day there are conflicting ideas and opinions. I think cardiology is this wonderful kind of transection of the art and the science of medicine. So every day we choose to manage our patients in a certain way. Other people may have a differing opinion or thoughts on the timing, order, management, et cetera, of those patients. And it's a constant kind of community. In fact, there's a lot of set up accountability within that. We have monthly provider meetings to talk about even things like patient poor outcomes, management, et cetera. And so I think currently, as well as I've worked there since 2018, I think that is about as diverse of opinions and mindsets that I can give as far as I am currently dealing with, or not dealing with, but interacting with that kind of environment, which is good. It keeps people, it keeps me more mindful of what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are, and utilizing a team approach. I definitely know my limitations as a physician assistant and love that I get to consult with my doctors. And also people have different management practices, and so appreciating the diversity of their style and art is very helpful.
Thank you for being here. My name is Kim Wright. I am an at-large council member also. Can you tell us what you like about Englewood most, please?
I really like that it feels very much like a small town. My neighborhood, so I'm kind of in the Hampden and Broadway section. So I have access to walk downtown, which is really lovely. Downtown in quotation marks, it's not very large, but it's lovely. Mango coffee tree. My neighborhood is a bunch of young families. So it's been fun. Even just, I moved there in 2021. I was single. I'm now married with a child. And so just seeing how my neighborhood has changed and a lot of progression similar to what I've gone through too. A bunch of young families, and I feel we're right down the street from Englewood High. So it feels like it's just a small town, but there's definitely amenities and cute downtown things that aren't so big, like going to like big city Denver.
Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4, which is in Southwest Inglewood. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions that you apply to?
Yeah, I think, I know that Inglewood has the magazine that they send out every month, which I always read. But I think if we could work on improving even the distribution of the events and the ideas that Inglewood's getting behind. For example, I attended the Farmers Festival this Saturday, and it wasn't as attended as I thought it was going to be. And I think it's really just people probably don't know that it even exists. So especially things like the farmers market, I feel very passionate about in supporting our local farmers and businesses and entities. So I think that outreach and doing maybe more community outreach and education on the opportunities, like we have community gardens here at the Depot, but we don't have other community gardens. And I want to make sure that people know about I go to the rec center here and there's the composting program there, but it's not very well, to me as a pleading citizen, it doesn't seem very well advertised. And I think that composting is super important to me, and I'd love to see the community at large hear more about opportunities that they can participate in that, and potentially even use it to garden, whether that's backyard gardening or producing food. I think like in kind of that regenerative agriculture theme, the idea is that instead of becoming consumers, we become producers of things. And so just seeing how citizens and everyday people can become producers within Inglewood. And yeah.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Camp. I'm the city council member for District 2. You apply for sustainability, which means on the second Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. right here in this room. Do you see attendance being an issue for you at all on this commission?
Fortunately, no. Tuesdays are usually my day off. So
Wonderful. Thank you.
90 seconds.
All right, good evening, Ms. Vega. Joe Anderson, District 3 Council member. My question for you tonight is, how would service on the Sustainability Commission benefit you personally or professionally?
I think personally, as I mentioned, I would really love to just be more involved with my local community. So really personally would love to get to know my local government and have more personal relationships that can affect change. And I think professionally, gosh, I'll say this quickly. I do have aspirations to, and I guess this isn't really professionally, but in my job, I do the CCMF, so I do the correctional care cardiology. And so I see a huge gap in healthcare with them because our incarcerated individuals don't have access to quality food, particularly fresh vegetables of any form. And so I really would love to, I know Inglewood has a federal correction institution here, the FDI. And I would love to be able to potentially merge those ideas of bringing in good healthcare, good quality nutrition, and starting a potential farming, even a hydroponics farm within the Federal Institute. And I know that that's kind of more outside the realms of Inglewood City government because it's a federal institution, but I just want to start making more of those government connections to be able to start pursuing that route.
Very good, thank you.
All right, Ms. Day, we're at time. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. We're going to be having another night of interviews after tomorrow night. We'll deliberate internally. We will be making a final decision next Monday night, and at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement. So thank you so much. It was great to meet you, and yeah, thank you for your time tonight.
Do you all, evening?
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Curtis,
Hello,
how you doing tonight?
I'm loving the air conditioning.
Is there one back up outside?
Yeah, we're trying to do the, like the time of use with Excel.
Oh, yeah.
So at 7 o'clock, that's when it
Oh,
really
that's
goes
what-
down for us.
yeah.
This is like a little bit of a treat for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Curtis,
Reevaluating life choices.
thank you for making time for us before 7 p.m. So,
Of course.
my name's Daniel Sear. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of us. I think we're ready to begin. Any questions before we get started?
No, I'm
All right, perfect. My first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, so my wife and I have lived here now for about 4.5 years. We got married while we lived in Inglewood. It's our first home. So we got it right before COVID started, so we really got to know the house very well and the neighborhood. So we got involved that way first and foremost. Just started to build in terms of our interest for the city. Really appreciate the quarterly magazines that we get. Those are pretty neat. And that got me more interested in the community and also just giving back my time. And so more recently, I've been getting more into the meetings that you guys are having too. And I'm usually attending them online or at least looking at them afterwards. And I know that there have been some that are more energy than others, if you will. But I feel like that it's something that I want to be involved in. This is a community that I've come to really enjoy and appreciate. And it's a somewhat small community in my opinion. So I just want to get involved that way.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Curtis.
Good evening, Mr. Curtis. My name is Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, and or abilities would you bring to the board or commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on the board or
Sure.
commission?
So I'm applying for the Board of Assessment and Appeals as well as the Public Library as well. I am currently a fraud investigator for Jefferson County. I've worked within their human services for the last 6 years. And so what I do is I investigate allegations of welfare fraud. So I have a lot of technical skill when it comes to trying to gather evidence, fact finding, report writing, and also just coming to conclusions, making determinations about different cases that come forward. There's also a lot of collaboration, not only with my team, but also with legal counsel, which we have to deal with because we are public facing, so we have to understand how to deal with that when we have someone who is upset or maybe just wants to talk about things a little bit more. We deal with appeals as well. So I'm well versed in that area. As far as the library goes, in the past, I worked in a halfway house trying to help individuals with justice involved get back on their feet. So working with them on resumes. And I know that the library now is a lot more than just books. I mean, it has been for a while. It's a place for a lot of these individuals, and that means a lot to me. So trying to get involved there. Resources, when we're at this halfway house, this is back in Jefferson County, we used to have their bookmobile come out, and actually it was probably the best day of the week for these gentlemen because they got a chance just to interact with the community. So those are, the technical skills are really big as well in terms of the Colorado revised statutes. Just want to mention that. I saw that it was a big part of the Office of Appeals, and that's something that I work with pretty regularly in my job. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang, I'm also an at-large council member. And this evening, I would like you to describe an experience in the past in which you worked in a group of people with diverse opinions and sometimes opposing viewpoints and perspectives.
Sure, yeah, I'll just do something from work. So one of the things with my job is that Colorado is a one-party consent state, so you don't have to tell the other party that you're recording the conversation. However, we are trying at Jeffco to really adjust our mission, vision, and values, and part of that is informing the individual individuals of this, or at least having that conversation. So that was a conversation on the table. How are we going to do this? Should we let individuals know or not? We have different backgrounds. We have some that are law enforcement, which have a different background than others that come from more human services. So it was a good conversation about what should we do? Should we tell them? Should we not? And there were good points on either side. Ultimately, what we decided on was what was best for the group. So there was some leeway and some giving from both sides. And we decided to inform the individuals, hey, you are being recorded. And ultimately, it actually worked out well, which was nice. We were concerned that maybe we weren't going to get the feedback or the information we needed from them, but ultimately they were still happy to come forward and they appreciated the transparency.
Thank you. Hi there, I'm Kim Wright, and I am one of the at-large council members also. Can you please tell us what you like about Inglewood the most?
I like that Inglewood feels like a community to me. I've lived in Lakewood, I've lived in Denver, and while those places have their pros as well, this place just really feels more like a home, and it's eclectic too, and small. It feels like it doesn't take that long to get across the entire city, which I kind of like. There's also some uniqueness about Inglewood too, like they have their own water supply. I find that kind of interesting, which just has some things that are different than other places. So I like that, and I'm lucky to have good neighbors, and fingers crossed we're getting a new neighbor pretty soon as well. But excited to invite them into the community. This is the first place where I've had the numbers of my neighbors on text. So hey, so and so's going out of town. Can you watch out for us? I appreciate that, and I want to continue to build on that. I know it's not something that just happens naturally. You got to work at it. So yeah, that's a big part of what Inglewood means to me.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Evening, I'm Steve Ward, I represent District 4, which I believe is the council district that you live in. We're practically neighbors.
Yeah,
which is,
down the street.
Very close. So my question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions you applied to?
Well, I commend you guys for what you've done thus far. I mean, I always am a big proponent of more and more communication, which I think you guys are doing a good job of, but I think there's always ways to revisit that. In terms of accessibility, I think that's something as well when it comes to the Office of Appeals and Assessments. A lot of that language can be a little bit harder for others to understand if you're not familiar with it. So maybe trying to think about accessibility in terms of how can we bring that into layman's terms for somebody? How does somebody in the community that has no idea what this is, how do they get involved in that? How do they understand the process? So this is something I'm thinking about. That might be a way to improve things. With the library, I mean, I think they're doing a great job. I think safety is always a big thing with the library. It has been for years, and I think it will continue to be. So that is something that I'd like to see continually worked on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Curtis. My name is Chelsea Camp. I'm the city councilperson for District 2. As you know, regular attendance and engagement in these meetings is critical to their success. Do you see attendance being any issue for you?
No issue.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Curtis. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Councilman. My question for you is, how would serving on one of these boards benefit you personally or professionally?
Personally, I think that I would be able to get more involved in the community. I'm working my way up to that, but I think this is really that next big step. So I think because of that, I would be even more actively involved, which is a big thing for me. And from myself being involved, I think that kind of radiates out around my neighborhood as well. Do you mind repeating? Was there a second?
Professional.
Oh. Yeah, professionally, I mean, I think that it's always helpful to get other perspectives on things, and that definitely plays a part in what I do each day in terms of working with the public and working with individuals who are, a lot of them are at risk. So just getting a better understanding of the Inglewood community, because with my job, I'm serving residents, not so much Inglewood. Right. So this will get me more involved in my own community.
Very good, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, still got about 2 minutes. Any questions for us?
District 4, Steve, Reed, I just want to say thank you guys because we had a little incident last summer and I appreciate the way you guys handled that. That actually got me involved too. I mean, obviously it was it's a pretty serious thing, but I like the way that you guys approached that. I thought the community meeting was nice, and also the emails afterwards, because otherwise we would have no idea what was going on, so I appreciate that. In terms of other questions, you know, I guess it's not a question, it's more just something I wanted to add, which is that I think the way I filled out this application, I said that the public library was my first choice. And I think that was a mistake on my part here. I think the appeals and assessments would be my first choice. The library would be number 2, they're close, but, and I'm happy to serve on both, or whatever makes sense, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Would you be interested in other positions?
Absolutely, yeah.
That if they're.
Yeah, and I know that not everything was open this time around. I just wanted to apply to the things that felt like I had some, that I could bring some skill set to, but yeah, I'm absolutely open to other things, yeah.
Fantastic.
So, Mr. Curtis, you mind if I ask a question of you, just because you brought up communication? Where do you think that we can improve in terms of communication? And how is it that you get your communication today?
Well, right now, I mean, I get that newsletter or the magazine, and I'm not gonna lie, I got it on YouTube recently for other reasons, but but that's beside the point. Honestly, I have to go to the website.
Okay, so you go to the website.
Yeah, usually to the website to get it.
Are you on social media or anything like that, or?
Well, not too much. With my job as an investigator, we try to stay off of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be, but it's generally one of those things where we're trying to just, protect our information. Yeah.
And if I can follow up, do you subscribe to any of the city newsletters, city email?
I'd like to say yes.
It's okay if it's no, it's just helpful content for us.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I tried to get involved with community gardening, but I missed the opportunity there. Not too late, so. Yeah, I don't know if I'm subscribed to anything. So.
But I do think there is a website where you can be notified of happenings. And I don't do it, but my husband does do it. And so he knows some things that I don't know.
Yeah, I try to stay involved if I can, but usually it's just going on the website.
Okay.
Like meeting minutes and things like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Curtis, thank you very much for your time tonight. We're going to be delivering tomorrow night's interviews. We'll make a final placement next Monday night, and then you'll be somebody from the city clerk's office will follow up with you. So
sounds great.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to meet you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to stick around if you like.
Oh yeah, no, I will. I will. Out there.
Library's open for a couple hours.
Did you recognize him from any of the meetings? I sent it here.
Not one of my gifts.
Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Gallardo.
How are you, folks?
We're doing well. How
How are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Just have a seat in the middle there. Mr. Gallardo, thanks for making time for us tonight. I'm Nathaniel Sierra. I'm a city council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Mr. Gallardo, we'll be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those 7 questions. If there's any time remaining, feel free to ask us any questions you have. So, are you ready to begin?
Yes, sir.
That wasn't one of the questions, but.
I apologize a little bit.
Okay.
I'm on hearing aids.
Sounds good.
You know,
What motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
I've got a long history with Inglewood. I've grown up here. 1962, I was the first head boy for Scenic View Elementary School. So, you know, I've lived here. I've never wanted to live anywhere else. I did live in Commerce City for a little while. That's only because my dad got sick and passed away. But as soon as I got 18, I came back home where I belong. And I'm living in the house next door to the house I grew up in.
Wow.
So, no, I mean, that's my motivation, Inglewood. Inglewood is my home. I mean, I've been in construction for 55 years. I started in 1969, and I've been doing okay. But at the same time, I want to help. I want to help my city. You know, I've seen what's going on in Denver, Westminster, these other cities. You know, I want that to happen to this city. You know, I'm speaking from way back now, folks. When I was young, this was Mayberry RFD. You know, and I'm not saying that we need to be that. We have to keep up with the times. That's natural. But, you know, I kind of hope that, you know, with 55 years of construction experience, I manage construction companies I still have my own business. I'm just hoping that maybe I can be of some use to you folks somewhere. I don't care if you want me going out picking up litter, I don't care. But I do have a lot of good experience that, you know, maybe you guys can use me somewhere. I mean, I tried earlier and I'm not gonna hide it. I was on the Urban Renewal Authority and I got sick. Couple of reasons. I got sick, and number one was the main reason was when I signed up and I came on board, I couldn't hear. Since then, I'm totally deaf without my hearing aids. And, you know, and nothing is more uncomfortable than sitting with a group of people and not being able to hear what they're saying. So I was kind of torturing myself, trying to figure out, you know, I hadn't figured out hearing aids yet. Then all of a sudden, I dropped. I had to go have major heart surgery. I had my aortic valve replaced. And, you know, life has been good since then. This was in 2018. And because the Lord has given me a second lease on life, I feel I should be giving back. I want to give back not only to the people that I live with or around me, but to my city. Because this is home. You know, this is not just Inglewood, Colorado. This is home, Colorado to me. Like I say, I can do a lot of things. Used to say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. But I can do pretty much anything that's ever asked of me. I've never been let go, told I can't do that, I'm not good enough. I can do it. But I just want to see if there's some place that you folks can find somewhere for me. Throw me in there, put me in when the line's in, and let me have at it.
I'll stop you right there, Mr. Gallardo, because we still got 6 more questions. So we'll go on to the next. Go ahead, Member Russell.
Sorry,
No, you're fine.
I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And I appreciate your historical knowledge because I guarantee you not too many people in this room have the history you and I do. So my question for you is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board commission? And in particular, how would you be a positive influence through your service on the board?
You have to be a positive influence if you're going to step forward. A negative just makes you're never going to go if you go 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It doesn't work that way. I mean, construction, it's production. And with the city, it's not necessarily production to me, it's safety. It's safety, the people, the community, the businesses. If you get them all to blend and everybody's helping everybody, scratching each other's backs per se, I think it's a beautiful place to live.
Absolutely. I'm going to pass on to Councilmember Prang.
Keep you moving along.
Yeah, move along.
I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. Can you please describe for us an experience in the past in which you worked in a group of people with diverse mindsets and sometimes opposing viewpoints and perspectives?
Well, for the last 20 years, I was senior project manager with the big boys. Okay, I run major companies. I've done projects 100 million. You know, I built pretty much half the town of Parker. All their underground, their infrastructure, there's storm sewer, water lines. You know, I can do whatever is needed. I mean, I got off track there a little bit, but I'm just trying to I guess show you that, you know, I do have knowledge, I do have the experience to not make things happen per se, because that's not my job. My job is to say, I think maybe we could look at this from a different angle and get a better product or get a better quality. Not just for, I mean, I'm talking city streets, I'm talking Inglewood water and sewer, you know, I'm talking about everything. Now, I shouldn't say anything, but Inglewood water is one of my pet peeves.
On that note, we'll move on to the next question.
Well, you know, I love this city, but why am I paying $120 a month for bottled water?
All right. My name's Kim Wright, and I'm an at-large council member also. Thank you for being here. My question is, and I think you may have started answering it, what do you like most about Inglewood?
Not the water.
No,
I
people.
mean, to me, we have a very beautiful little community here. And if the people could come together and see, I mean, you know, if you go to Denver, you drive through Denver, and everybody's doing this. They don't look at you, they don't smile, they don't, and if you get in the way, then they're honking or giving you hand signals that you don't want to see. Inglewood is, I don't see that here. No, I can see it on Broadway, but I don't see it in, I mean, you know, the parks, you know, the kids, the people playing, that's what it's not about, excuse me, it's not about me, it's not about you folks, it's about the kids. I've got grandchildren that are growing up and going to school here in the Inglewood School District. And I love Charles Hay because of the way they're doing. I mean, these are things that go through my mind, you know. I mean, you know, what can I do to help this school? What can I do to help? You know, I don't need the money. You know, I just need this part. Because, you know, when somebody gives you something, excuse me, I'm not paying it, but when somebody gives you something, and by somebody, I mean, my Lord, he gave me another chance. And I promised him that I would do the best I could to be the best person I could be, the best father I could be. That's why I'm here. Because if I can help people come together, if I can help things run smoother, that's all that matters. Because 3 months after I'm gone, nobody's gonna remember me. Maybe
I don't know
a few
about that.
people, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You folks all know what I'm saying. We're here, and this is what I'm trying to say. We don't have to have that. If we come together and make this community into a family, people are gonna say, I remember that guy. Oh, he was a good person. Oh, she was really a nice lady. This is what we're supposed to have, not just a little line in the newspaper that said this person bought it because somebody ran into them. No, that's not what life's about. You know, I'm not a preacher either, by the way.
We have probably time for one more question.
Okay, I'm sorry. folks.
35 seconds left, so I'm not sure who wants to take it. Go ahead, Steve.
I'll take it. I'm Steve Ward, Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. My question for you, what, if anything, would you like to see improved about the boards or commissions that you applied for?
What would I like to improve about the board?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I've been watching in the backgrounds naturally, but I think that you folks have all done a pretty good job. You know, I mean, I was here before you folks, any of you folks were here. And I'm seeing the difference. I'm seeing younger folks, and that's good. That's good. I mean, I'll say it straight, it's not my world anymore. It's your world. But, and I'm sure you've heard it, and I'm sure she's heard it, but if you young folks all stop, pay attention a little bit, we can help make it easier for all of you.
Mr. Gallardo, I'll stop you right there. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallardo,
Thank you.
we will be in touch. We'll make a decision next Monday night, and then somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you. But it was a pleasure to meet you tonight. Thank you very much for your interest.
Appreciate the opportunity, folks. Have a great day.
Yeah,
I meant
thank you.
it. If you guys just want me to go, I got a truck. I can do that.
Thank you so
Have a great
much.
evening,
You
folks.
too.
Thanks so much, Mr. Gallardo. All right, everyone, we're gonna take a 5-minute break since the next speaker comes up at 6:40, so.
Yeah, I'll put him to work on neighborhood rehab projects.
He needs a position just for.
And Russell, be back.
And see you. So I'm
Where's
assuming.
Steve?
I think
Okay, we'll just pause it.
Hey,
Up in the Baker. No?
Baker, yeah.
Up in the hill.
Sam.
Up on the hill, yeah, that
Yeah,
way.
that way. Oh, what are we doing here?
We're recording. I just.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I was like, I'm confused. He's here, then why are you touching the phone?
I do, but I don't do it. I'm gluten-free, but not totally sugar-free.
Hey, George.
Hello.
Great to see you. Yeah, things are good. Thanks for making time for us.
Of course.
George, I think you know us all, but I'm Nathaniel C. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. George, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you could ask any questions of us. I will be keeping time as well. I'll let you know when you're getting close to time. So,
Okay.
all right. My first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Boy, so I think, I'm not sure if everybody knows what I do, but in my life's work is a project that I created here in Inglewood. It's still very much priority in my life. And we came into the community at a pretty interesting time and a lot of change was happening. And continues to happen, all, mostly really good things, development, progress, which of course we're all for and we were a huge part of, but I'd like to be part of helping make that happen responsibly, not only in our neighborhood and the bonus district, but throughout the community. I'm actually very close and work closely with other businesses in the community. I live in the neighborhood, and I'd like to, instead of sitting back and sharing my opinions, maybe have a role in helping to with that progress and be a contributing member of the community, as I have been for a few years now, just a different capacity.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Gastus. My name is Rita Russell, and I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board and commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on this board?
Sure. But most of my career, I've been a small business owner. The last officially 5 years, 7 if we count the planning stages here in Inglewood. My background is marketing, technology, branding, things that I think apply to all sorts of projects beyond just my own business. And I also I think I'm pretty well known and fairly well respected in the community. I know a lot of different players, businesses, folks who work for the city, be active already in the community. I just stepped down from almost 4 years with the Chamber of Commerce and transitioning to this new opportunity, hopefully if all goes well. I just continue to give back to the community and have an active role in what's happening around town and use the experience and knowledge I have as a small business owner, the better part of my career, and make a difference in my community. And I think all the history of what I've done so far, not only at Grow and Gather, our different businesses that operate out of there, but before that I had a different business. I think I bring a lot of experience to the table and have a really good rapport, I think, with the broader business community.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. Tonight, can you describe for me an experience in the past in which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing viewpoints and perspectives?
4 years on the Chamber of Commerce.
I was going to say, I
No,
feel like you have a few stories.
I don't mean to think that's not, but we dealt with some pretty big issues over the last few years. And, still involved, just stepping back, less active role, and continue to support Lindsay and the whole board there. But that was a good example, I think, of the question you're asking, with lots of different stakeholders, lots of different opinions, lots of kind of old school, long time Inglewood residents. There's obviously a lot of big influx of new young professionals and young families moving to town, and for the most part, I think that's a really great thing. But it nonetheless comes with different opinions. I feel like I was pretty actively, I was a very active board member, something I pride myself in, and was very directly involved in managing some of those, not only conversations, but long-standing initiatives that the council was behind. And also as a business owner in the community, I know
know a lot of people in our neighborhood certainly, and also throughout the Englewood broader city, and feel like I've on a number of occasions throughout COVID and all the chaos that followed, dealt with neighbors, other business owners. We have a really close relationship with the hospitals, who are our neighbors, and I feel like that gives me a great foundation for moving forward on the DDA as well.
Thank you. Hi there, welcome. I'm Kim Wright, I'm one of the at-large council members also. Can you tell us what you like about Inglewood most, please?
It reminds me of where I grew up. A lot of I mean this in the best way because these are my roots, has a grit, blue collar aspect to it that I love about Inglewood. And then of course there's lots of new progress and sort of new, like I said, newer families and businesses moving to the community too. But I love Inglewood. It reminds me a lot of, I grew up on the west side of Cleveland, middle class community, and that's what made me who I am, and I feel like I fit in nicely in the Inglewood community, having that sort of background, working class folks, hardworking, and it's always resonated with me since I moved down. I spent almost 20 years in the Platt Park area, and then moved to this part of town about 10 years ago. Just really feel very comfortable here. Love the progress, the leadership's been good, pro-business, been really good to me and my business. I think it's very welcoming to new businesses as well, and also to residents as well. Lots of people moving here, and everybody seems very happy to be here, and I like that.
Great. I spent a lot of time on the west side of Cleveland too.
You did?
Yeah.
Fairview Park?
I couldn't tell you.
Right by the airport.
I'll have to come over and sit down and have a cup of coffee and discuss it.
Rounds.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward, District 4. I'm sure you probably already know, but what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards or commissions that you applied for?
I think something I'm very sensitive to with all the change that's about to happen in our neighborhood and wellness district. I love the progress. We've certainly contributed to all the construction. I will say, I don't know, my old business partner came from a construction background, and so I'm definitely more sympathetic, and I have some roots in that. I spent a few years doing that when I was younger. But I think with all the progress, in my opinion, comes a lot of responsibility on those who are driving that progress, including the developers, to be mindful of the residents and the communities that they're setting up shop in for 6 to 18 months. We certainly witnessed firsthand with all the development going on around us. I'd love to be involved in trying to come up with creative solutions so that they can do their jobs, but also not have a huge impact on the businesses and the residents where they're doing their work. Most of them don't live here. They come in, they do their thing, they get out, and the impact can be pretty severe. We literally shut down for days at a time when there's not a lot of thought put into where they park and where they set up their trucks.
Preach.
And I have some ideas around that because we did it too. It's a beautiful thing. It's what makes this community thriving right now, from my perspective. But I think that can be done in some maybe some more mindful ways so that it doesn't shut down an entire street corner or block a street down. So that's just one example. I think that's something that I can contribute to, come up with pretty mutually beneficial benefits for all involved.
Awesome, thank you.
2 minutes.
George, good to see you. As you know, the EDDA meets on the fourth Wednesday of each month at 4:30 p.m. Do you see any issue with attendance?
I don't. I do travel a fair amount. Got elderly parents back east and travel for business once in a while, but usually those things are pretty well laid out ahead of time, and I'm pretty confident I can make that work.
Okay, that's all I've got.
As I said, I've always prided myself being a very active, engaged board member on every board that I've ever served on. Look forward to doing the same.
Hi, George.
Joe?
See ya. I'm going to deviate a little from my question and just ask a DDA specific question. Do you have kind of a vision for where you'd like the DDA to be focusing in terms of transforming the downtown area?
Hillary might roll her eyes if she was here because I'm always like, don't forget about the wellness district. I think a lot of the focus when we talk about downtown and Inglewood in general is South Broadway, as it should be. It's the heart and soul of the community. But you guys over here, there's lots happening over here, as well in the city center, as well as in the wellness district. And everybody knows that, but I do think that sometimes it's easy to overlook that. So I'd love to see that kind of equal representation, but also that responsible development that I spoke to briefly regarding the development progress, the construction going on in the community. That's where I would like to involved again in coming up with creative solutions. I've been sort of a problem solver my whole career as a project manager, a wrangler, herder of cats, sort of in my world now still. And I feel like I can contribute a lot in helping us with that kind of continuing the plan that has been put in place and like the good work that they've done so far as we look at kind of this next phase of improvements that I know they're happening in the wellness district with some pretty significant changes, which are going to be wonderful and beautiful when it's all said and done. But between now and then, I think there's a lot of maybe strategic thinking that I hope will take place that I can be a part of to make that happen as smoothly and least disruptive as possible.
Yeah, we've got some great stuff going on with the Complete Streets project coming through.
Yeah.
Try to see some of those expand on some of the improvements we have. So good, thank you.
All right, Mr. Gestis, we are at time. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight and your willingness to serve. We have another night of interviews. After tomorrow night, we'll deliberate a little bit and then we'll make final placement next Monday, after which somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you. So, well, thanks so much. It's good to see you again.
See you all.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good luck with the interviews.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Scott Carlisle.
Before, I have a question first. Oh, you're good. Just a point of clarification, please. Can we go off script for asking questions? One second, please.
1 second. Have we done it before? I think we've done it before, but I think.
Yeah, I think if you have a really good reason. I mean, I felt
Normally,
like I did here, but just because I know George and I thought DDA specifically.
Right, but is that fair to other people that are applying for EDA?
He's the only one,
He's the only one, yeah.
Well, no, there's not. I mean,
but
it's,
he's not eligible.
He's not eligible though.
oh, Andrew's not, okay.
He doesn't live in the area.
And is anybody tomorrow going?
I don't believe so. I was looking at that earlier.
Just for
But yeah,
clarification.
it's a good question, but normally we stay on script, but you're right, we probably should keep it consistent for that.
Yeah, because I mean, there's other people that I've had question, I'm like, you'd be really good for, so, all right, I just to clarify, so, all right, thank you. All right, I'm sorry, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Carlisle.
Yes,
Good evening. Thanks for making time for us tonight.
no problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Mr. Carlisle, I'm Nathaniel Sear. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Mr. Carlisle will be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions you may have. So, are you ready to begin?
Let's get started.
Perfect. My first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood Award at this time?
Yeah, I think I, from an early age, saw the importance of civic engagement. I grew up on a kind of rural farm, small farm in Ohio, and I can remember at the age of about 8 years old, there was zoning legislation that was going into effect around the farm that was going to dramatically alter the business and the future of the farm. So the outcome of those zoning changes impacted kind of my childhood to some extent. So that was kind of my first exposure to what that was as a young child. So I've always kind of been partially engaged to civic matters and followed all of my local government behaviors from that point on. It's not, I would say, until somewhat recently in the last 10 or so years where I've kind of reached an age and a point in my career where I felt I've had the, I'd say, experience and knowledge to feel like I could give back something to the community that I live in, and also have, the time and resources to be able to do that in an effective manner. So those are kind of the 2 catalysts for why I'm here today.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Carlisle.
Good evening, Mr. Carlisle. My name is Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board or commission And in particular, how would you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on the board or commission?
Yeah, so in my career, I studied finance and decision sciences, which is a nonsense word that doesn't mean much to most people. But it's the way to use data and analysis to help take business problems and challenges, reframe them as objectively as possible, and get to answers that everyone can agree on, because we've kind of removed some of the emotions or feelings or any of the subjectivity on the matter. My business career is mostly what would be kind of more relatable as consulting, I would say. So generally, I have a lot of cross-functional skills and abilities to work with different teams, different people with different beliefs. I have a ton of experience in research, modeling, analytics, any sort of data stuff, data governance, how to acquire data that can help people make decisions, and a lot of technology experience as well. I've worked with some of the largest companies in the world and helped them get the most out of their investments.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. Loved your answer to number one, by the way. Good for you for being so young and being able to understand the impacts of changes around you. My question tonight is to have you describe an experience in the past in which you've worked with a group of people with diverse mindsets or opinions, and sometimes opposing viewpoints and perspectives.
Yeah, I've got a bunch. So, opposing perspectives, I'll start with that one. I work globally, so there are times when I work with people in countries like Singapore, where we just have very different belief structures intrinsically, independent of the business, and that makes communication, business meetings, all of those things that you have to treat delicately and pay attention to meet people in the middle of kind of your positioning, your perspective, and theirs. I think that is a commonality in any sort of civil engagement or government, is that our community is great because there's a lot of diversity of thought and opinions. That's where we can get great ideas from. So I think being able to balance those, find the ability to find that middle ground, or those are all skills that I have all the time. And I'd say in general, there's getting hired as a consultant, you're kind of usually met with some opposition, right? Your business or yourself had to go to someone outside to come in. So you're immediately met with some form of resistance. So building credibility and establishing trust are routine patterns for how I engage in most of my day-to-day in my career. And I think that goes in all facets of life. Working with people with different skills and different beliefs just really requires being your authentic self, hearing who their authentic self is, and finding ways to work with each other effectively. I think everyone here wants the best interest for the community. So, I mean, just because my idea might be different than yours doesn't mean you're not coming from the same place that I'm coming from.
Hi there, thank you for being here. My name's Kim Wright, I'm an at-large council member. Can you tell me what you like most about Inglewood, please?
Yeah, I think Inglewood has a couple of things that I really enjoy about it. One, I just feel like it's very authentic. Again, I came from a small town. I've lived in many large cities. I enjoy the feeling of Inglewood. I think there's great diversity across generations, ethnicities that reside here, and that makes it feel like a more complete community with more like character, and people are who they are every day. There's not a facade, I think LA always gets thrown out there as an example of people that are always pretending to try and be something else. That's not it here. I mean, people may recognize me because I go to the park, Cushing Park, all the time, and I throw frisbees. And I'm a 40-year-old man, and that probably seems weird to a lot of people, but it's how I stay active, and it's my hobby. So that, and then I also felt like Inglewood is really just on the cusp of having like kind of its next big story, right? Like there's, I think, so much engagement from the people here, and there's so much opportunity as well. Like clearly there's large economic and financial factors through all of kind of Metro Denver that may be pushing some of that. But I just think that there's a lot of opportunity for Englewood as well to kind of reward the people that are here.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. I too like to throw frisbees, just don't ask me to chase them.
Dogs are for, right?
My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions that you apply to?
Right, I think I applied a little bit of user error on my part for the Englewood code enforcement, and then I think I failed for planning and zoning. That's fine, we don't have to worry about that, that's on me. But for the code enforcement advocacy, advisory, that's it, thank you. What I'd like to kind of see, kind of the changes through there is, I think municipal codes are really awesome and interesting, right? Because they're like a set of tenets for like generally how we want people within our community to operate. And they can promote a lot of things, like they can promote safety, well-being. There's even some cost and savings that can be correlated in there. Like there's so many cool features of it. I have no idea what our code enforcement data, our cataloging about code enforcement violations or anything looks like, and I have not compared them to other similarly sized municipalities around Colorado to understand where our codes differ or align with them. But I think there's a nut to crack, a question to be asked and solved around, are we enforcing codes that we should be? Are we, lax on certain codes that's fine to be lax on? And how do they correlate with different topics like safety? There's the code is interesting because outsiders also perceive a community on how the residents live and how they present their property or the buildings or the businesses around there. A simple example is lots of abandoned cars being in there. Like that's against a code violation. It also makes the community less safe because it tells other people you can abandon cars here. And so it increases the traffic of people that are acting in that way. So I think there's all these little hidden gems that I'd like to try and mine out in the code and within the municipal code.
Thank you.
1 minute.
I'm Chelsea Camp, City Council member for District 2. Engagement and regular attendance at the board is really important to their success. Do you have any concerns about attendance or engagement?
I do not. I work remotely from home and I mostly work from 6 a.m. till about 3 p.m. So
Wonderful schedule.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Carlisle. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council member. My question, my question for you tonight is what would service on the CAC, how would it benefit you or personally or professionally?
Yeah, I think personally it would just help me meet a personal goal of wanting to be involved in my community and connect more with my community. I've been a homeowner here for 5 years and I'm not a super outgoing person, so I don't necessarily volunteer in those traditional senses, but I think this is an outlet where I can connect with a smaller number of people at a time and through a way that works better for my personality. So I think personally that'd be really enriching. And like I said at the beginning, I think I now have like the knowledge and experience to help bring more of that. And then on a professional level, I don't think there's any benefit unless Englewood's looking to hire a really large marketing firm.
I have one question.
Sure.
So on here, we have, you did not want to apply for the Englewood downtown development. Then it was the code enforcement and planning and zoning were your choices 1 and 2, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure to mark that down.
Yep, no problem.
Okay,
I
thank you
don't
so
qualify for the DDA, but I would
Right,
love-
okay, so I just wanted to make sure we have that down for you.
Not enough residential representation.
On the boundary, just on the boundary.
I know, it's not like 700.
Like, I was gonna say, you're just on the other side.
Well,
Well,
thank you.
Mr. Carlisle, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're gonna be deliberating after tomorrow night's interviews. We'll make placement on Monday night, and then somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you.
All right.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you all. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
I heard you might get out of here early this evening.
That's the rumor.
Stays on track here.
Something would have to go really wrong at this point.
I don't know. It's in the air now, so you never know.
It only takes one.
Doing well. How you doing, Ms. King?
Doing very well.
Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. King, I am Othaniel Sear. I'm City Council Member for District 1 as well as Mayor for the city. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of us. So are you ready to begin?
Sure.
Perfect. My first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
So I just finished up with Citizens Planning School, and I was appointed last fall to the Affordable Housing Task Force. And I've really been enjoying learning so much about how the city operates and, just kind of meeting everybody involved. And I've just been learning a lot. And I feel like this opportunity came up at a good time to, take on a little bit more and see what else I could learn.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Ms. King. My name is Rita Russell. I'm an at-large council member. My question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board and commission? Or in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood in your service on the board or commission?
Over my time on the Affordable Housing Task Force and in the Citizens Planning School, I learned a lot about intricacies of zoning, planning, development, the stakeholders. I think that I have a good base level knowledge for, kind of how that operates within the city, which, like I said, I've been really enjoying getting to know that. And I think that would be good knowledge to bring, as well as I think I'm a very attentive listener. I try to be very present and be, reliable, available, and keep an open mind in any discussions. So I think that that's what I would hopefully bring as a member of a commission.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm an at-large council member as well. Tonight, I'd like to have you describe an experience in the past during which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing viewpoints and perspectives.
Definitely. I've lived in Inglewood for about 4 years. Prior to living here, and most of my professional experience was in managing restaurants. And I was living in New York prior to this, so I was managing restaurants there, working with people from all over the world, managers underneath me, a lot of conflict and conflict resolution. I think that I gained a lot of soft skills in that process of just being able to kind of understand where other people are coming from and work with different personalities, and have a lot of patience for different approaches and personalities. So I think that, my experience in managing and being managed in a very diverse environment both was very valuable.
Hi there, I'm Kim Wright, and I'm an at-large council member also. Can you tell us what you like about Inglewood the most, please?
Absolutely. I think what comes to mind first is really just walking around the neighborhood with my dog. I walk him miles. I live just north of here, and we just walk and everybody's friendly. I love that the neighborhood is just very, the houses don't look like, it's just very welcoming, and there's all types. And then aside from that, in the last year, just finding that the city government has been really overwhelmingly welcoming to citizen participation, which is not something that I really knew, and just kind of happened upon. And I've really appreciated that part of Inglewood specifically. So I think that's been a good experience.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. And my question for you is what, if anything, would you like to see improved regarding the boards or commissions that you apply to?
I think not necessarily an improvement, but I have seen value in my role in the Affordable Housing Task Force is representing renters. And I am a renter in Inglewood. I have been for coming up on 4 years. I think that I see value in representing, the perspective of kind of my demographic, somebody that is a renter and, would hope to become a homeowner in Inglewood, and really likes the community and is maybe not a high income person. So I don't know, I think I hopefully would represent my perspective and demographic well.
Thank you.
Hi, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
attendance and regular engagement in these boards and commissions is required to make them really effective. Do you have any concerns about attendance as it relates to the ones you've applied for?
Not at this time. I think the only conflict would just be if they meet on the same day as any other task force or board, because I'm just on that other task force. And I do hope to do the second session of Citizens Planning School, but I don't think that they meet on the same day, so I don't see any issues.
Okay, great.
Hey, Sophie.
Hi.
My question for you is, how will your service on one of these boards or commissions benefit you professionally or personally?
Really, it's been a great personal benefit thus far, just, getting to know everyone here and understanding how decisions get made in the city and seeing what's coming up and what the different possibilities are. I think that for me, it's just been a really valuable learning experience with me personally. I like being involved and feeling really connected locally to what's going on. It's like, I feel like I got like an inside track. I'm like, oh, Lava Island is coming. So it's just something I enjoy knowing about, and that's a benefit.
Thank you.
Well, you were very succinct. We still have about 4 minutes. Do you have any questions for us, Ms. King?
Oh, wow, I was a speed racer. I think, has anyone here served on planning and zoning specifically, or?
No.
I did very briefly, and I was still learning language and how
Right.
things work by the time I transitioned over.
How long did you serve on planning and
Oh,
zoning?
gosh. 4 months or something?
That's it?
like that. Yeah, it was
Okay.
a really
Oh,
short
wow.
tenure, so lots of learning. Just ask lots of questions and rely on your fellow commissioners to kind of hold you steady were you to be selected.
Awesome. And you found it, you were getting along, like learning the ropes there pretty well?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the city staff did a fantastic job of bringing people up to speed, and also recognized, newer members coming on board where certain presentations, maybe having an ask of the presenters to explain things a little more in layman's terms so that everyone could understand the ask while they were learning. So I think city staff does a wonderful job of keeping people where they need to be or getting them there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I've found that to be true so far in my experiences, that like everyone has gone above and beyond to give us so much background that I, felt more confident to apply for something else, because I was like, oh, like everyone is really like bending over backwards to get us all the information that we need, and it's been really cool. So I'm glad to hear that.
Right. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, Ms. King. Well, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. We're going to be deliberating after tomorrow night's interviews. We'll have final placement or a vote on final placement next Monday night, and after which the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement. So,
Awesome.
yeah, great to see you again. Thank you very much for your time tonight and your willingness to serve.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Lava Island is coming.
You heard it here
Heard it
first.
here first.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Have you guys seen that they've also, there's a Indian restaurant going in right by the pond?
No,
Yeah, is it a restaurant or is
It's
it?
yeah, it's an Indian restaurant. Apparently they're coming from Littleton.
that makes me excited.
Yeah.
Wow. So,
2 in 1
a
We're
couple
gonna-
people have told us that they're very excited about it, so.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Davenport.
Evening.
How are you doing tonight?
Good, how about yourself?
Doing well. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. Mr. Davenport, my name's Nathaniel Sierra. I'm a city council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions you may have. So, okay. You ready to get started?
I am.
All right. My first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
We moved to Inglewood to what I hope is our forever home about 3 years ago. I have 2 little ones, and they're getting to the point where it's a little easier for me to be out of the house occasionally on the evening. I've been looking ways to get involved in the community. Libraries are kind of a love of mine. I served on the Arapahoe Library District about 8 years ago now, and I saw that this was open, and it's a good time for me personally. And I just wanted to get involved in the community, but the library specifically kind of called to me. I think libraries are really great spaces for communities. They have repositories for information and internet access. They help communities be more welcoming and just and equitable. But they also can be so many different things for the community. They can be meeting spaces. They can be, like, for example, as the library does here, be places people can go get help for technology, and they can go out to the community and increase information access. And there are just so many things a library can be, and it's really only limited by what the library decides it wants to be, I think.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Davenport.
Good evening, Mr. Davenport. My name is Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities do you bring to this board or commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on this board?
So in terms of knowledge, as I said, I've served on the Arapahoe Library Board before. I also serve on a board of a local youth nonprofit. My day job is providing legal counsel to 2 state agencies, boards and commissions. So I've been working with boards and commissions and on boards and commissions for many years. I think I have a pretty good base of knowledge of kind of just in general what boards do, how they work, how meetings work. But I think more importantly, my day job, I help every day the boards and commissions get to what we hope is a good decision. That involves sort of separating the wheat from the chaff in terms of what information is the information you need for a decision, what's kind of a distraction, ensuring that you're taking all, even if you don't side with someone, that you're taking their viewpoints and their goals into account when you try to make decisions, and trying to make a decision that achieves as many goals as possible. And essentially my job every day is to advise those agencies on how to spend public money in the way that both benefits the most people as possible. And so I hope I can provide that benefit, that experience of making good decisions, listening to people, taking their opinions into account, and trying to make a decision that has the most bang for the buck for the community.
Great, thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. I'm assuming you're going to have great answers for this question, given the fact that you advise state boards and commissions. Could you describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Sure, I have a lot of examples I could use. The example that leapt to mind, just because it was the library board, was Arapahoe's library board had to make a decision when Aurora cut funding for its libraries, whether or not to, when I joined the library board, they actually had an increased fee structure for Aurora residents. The board in the past had felt that since Aurora had cut their library funding and they didn't have libraries anymore, that there should be some sort of evening out of how Aurora residents pay to use the unincorporated Arapahoe County libraries. And when I joined the board, there was a push to end that and just have a flat fee for everybody, no matter what the residency was. And there was a wide disparity on the board as to which direction to go there. The board ultimately did decide to do away with the heightened fees for Aurora residents, but what I learned from that process was you have to make folks feel heard, even if you don't ultimately side with them, showing them that you're listening to them, that you're thoughtfully considering what they're saying. The worst thing you can do, I think, is reject an idea or opinion just because of the person whose mouth that idea or opinion comes out of. I see that a lot in public service, but as long as you can make people feel like they were heard, even if you don't ultimately side with them, that can go a long way to building trust and respect in the community for the board. And no matter what decision you make, if somebody comes away with increased trust and respect for the board, it's a win in some respects.
Good answer, thank you.
Hi there, my name's Kim Wright. I'm the third at-large member. Hopefully a little easier question. What do you like the most about Inglewood?
When I think of Inglewood's home, and so I think of the people, our neighbors and our block. We love our block. We love our neighbors. There are a bunch of young families on that, and we've gotten to be good friends with our neighbors. But I think in addition to that, Inglewood feels like a small town in a big city. There's so many things you can do big city-wise. You take the train to the Rockies, but I think when we're at home, we still feel like we're in somewhat of a small town. And that feeling of a small town community, but having big city resources is a really special feeling, and it's not something you get in other communities.
Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. And my question for you is, what, if anything, would you like to see changed about the board or commission that you applied for?
I think every library I've ever been to, including the library board I served on, could stand, recognizing limitations in funding and time, increased publicity and getting out into the community. And I saw in the strategic plan for the library, there's a lot of that already going on. The bookmobile, the deliveries to folks who can't get to the library. I saw there was an increased emphasis on getting out to the community and publicizing the library. But finding creative ways to do that, I think could be really helpful. It's surprising how many times you talk to somebody who may not have been to the library recently, and the most common response you get is, oh, I didn't realize the library did that, or I didn't know they had that. And that's not, I'm sure that's already going on. I think the most important thing I could probably do if I'm most fortunate enough to be chosen for the library board is spend at least the first few meetings just listening, because I'd be shocked if I had an idea that nobody's had before and has tried before.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Davenport. I'm Chelsea Camp. I am City Councilor for District 2 and also the liaison to the library board. Regular attendance and engagement in the meetings is required, obviously, to make the meetings successful and the work successful. Do you have any concerns about attending the meetings? It's the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m.
Right, I saw that on the schedule. No, I don't. It'll be a priority for me, those meetings.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Davenport. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. My question for you tonight is, how would serving on the Public Library Board benefit you personally or professionally?
Well, I think the biggest benefit would be personal, a feeling that I'm hopefully doing something positive for the community that I live in. And we use the library all the time, and anything that can help the library offer services, or anything we can do to make the library a better place would benefit me and my family personally. Professionally, the more experience I get in helping people make decisions and making decisions, the better off I'll be.
Very good, thank you.
All right, Mr. Davenport, you've got about 90 seconds left for questions for us.
I just have one question. If I'm chosen, what would be the first meeting I would need to attend?
It would be what month are we in? June?
So it's July.
It'll be July.
Would it be the July meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless
It might be August.
it's Thursday, would we pass it in time?
Well, the third Thursday?
No, so it's only one vote. So we only vote on it on June 17th. So the first meeting would be in July. Be the third Wednesday, so it would be about what, the 18th or so?
Well, but the June 20th is the next meeting, so if he was appointed on the 17th, he could technically approve.
No, July, not June, not this month.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it would be in July.
July, okay.
Yeah.
The 18th.
We eventually came to an agreement that it would be July.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't, especially after I said I'd make attending a priority, I wanted to make sure it wasn't June, because we're out of town.
Yeah.
I had a question. You just had one choice, the library board. Would you be interested in any other boards or commission, or is the library your passion? That's where you.
The library's kind of all the way up here, and so I just went for that one. I'm actually not entirely sure what's available, so it's hard for me to answer that question.
Okay.
I wouldn't immediately reject it out of hand if I wasn't selected for the library board and you had something open. I'd be perfectly willing to discuss serving on another board, but the library was kind of.
And normally we would run it by you or the city clerk's office first by you.
Contact you. So, okay, fantastic.
Well, Mr. Davenport, it's great to meet you.
All right.
As we kind of mentioned, next Monday we'll make a final decision, after which we will reach out to you. So thank you very much for your willingness to serve.
Appreciate your time.
Great to meet you.
Thank you very
Nice to
much.
meet you too.
Are they short people right now in the library?
I think they had a resignation, right?
They've
More than
had a
one?
couple.
Or just
Openings, I
oh,
think.
two openings? Okay.
Is there alternate openings also?
So 2 regulars.
Good evening, Ms. Cooper.
Two regular and one?
How you doing?
2 regular.
Good to see you.
Do they have alternates?
Sorry about that, Ms. Cooper. I'm Nathaniel here. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We will be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions you may have. So are you ready to begin?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. First question for me is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I have been renting in Inglewood since 2016. We lived in Inglewood up through 2021 and then moved away for a few years, but with a real desire to come back. I think we had a real sense of kind of what was special about this community. We really missed it. And so we just became homeowners in November. And with that, I think there's an increased sense for me of a desire to get involved and to seek the good of my community. I'm very involved in Sacred Grace Inglewood, and so there's a focus there on seeking the good of the place that you are, and so that for me is a real priority. I just graduated from the Elevate Inglewood program and have also been involved with the Inglewood Christmas Store as well, quite heavily, but Elevate Inglewood was my first taste of, I think, maybe civic engagement outside of the nonprofit sphere or perhaps the small business sphere, and it was something that was, I learned a lot. I got a taste of a lot of different aspects of city life, and for me, that was maybe the primary motivator of wanting to join a board and commissions. We did a budget activity, and I was like, this is the best. So fun, so challenging. So.
Great.
Good evening, Ms. Cooper. My name is Rita Russell, and I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board or commission? And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on that board?
Yeah. Thanks for that question. I'm a data analyst by trade, so have been involved in data analytics, have a head for numbers. I'm specifically going to answer this question. I think my primary choice was a budget advisory committee. I do recognize that there are other committees I may be considered for, but that's primarily going to be my focus in how I answer these questions. Yeah, so data analyst, head for numbers, spreadsheets, have career experience both with personal finance, personal budgeting, but also some small business budgeting, financial report preparation, and also in the nonprofit sphere as well. And so that's something that I have been accustomed to and involved with. I'm now working for a larger employer, and so have now gotten involved more on the budgeting side with them as well. And so kind of some burgeoning experience with larger scale budgets. And so I think with my career background adds a lot of benefit there to what I could potentially do on that committee. I think too, from maybe a personality and wiring perspective, something that I have a real heart for is supporting city leadership while also helping provide oversight. I think those are really key aspects of good governance, of being both highly engaged and also being in a high trust sort of environment. I really respect and champion the work that is done at the city level. And so I think that kind of wiring and being able to, fight for that good governance and also want to provide really good support and a championing of city personnel is something that I would bring as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member, and my ask this evening is to have you describe to us an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse opinions or mindsets and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. I was considering a couple situations, but a more recent one, in February with my role
I'm a data analyst for a nonprofit organization that works in the international development space. And I traveled to Malawi, which is a country in East Africa, to help lead a training in business intelligence tools for a variety of individuals who there was big cultural gaps, tech, digital gaps, and even some language gaps there, some of which were even larger than I was even expecting when I got there. And it was a very collaborative, participatory training. And so I think we had done a lot of work ahead of time to empathize and understand our audience and to be able to know their needs. And then also, while we were there, had to pivot quite a bit. There was, just some, for example, we found out that the majority of the people in that room had never used a laptop at all. So just, I think through that experience with maybe differing skill levels or different expectations, very different backgrounds from what I grew up in, I had to really practice those skills of empathy, of listening well, of being able to pivot and be flexible, and to come to a solution through that. And it ended up being a very successful training.
Great, thank you.
Hi, welcome. My name's Kim Wright. I'm one of the at-large council members also. Can you tell us what you like most about Inglewood, please?
Yeah, I'm sure it's an answer you've heard over and over, but that feeling of a small town where people know each other, care about their community, but with all the amenities of a big city. I pretty much from the time I moved here, I started running into people I knew everywhere, the grocery store, which is just not an experience I had earlier. And that is something that I've really loved and valued about living here. I really love how much people care, whether I agree with how they care or what they care about or not. There is just a lot of strong desire for the city to flourish and really to look a certain way. And that is something that I really loved about this place.
First time we've heard that.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. And my question for you is, what, if anything, would you like to see changed about the boards or commissions that you applied for?
Yeah.
Improved?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't know much about what goes on within those boards and commissions, so it's hard for me to think through maybe specifically what I'd like to see improved. I would say maybe from a citizen perspective, I'd like to see increased engagement as much as possible. I think that there can be a real distance between these sorts of opportunities and citizens, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to apply, to bridge that gap a little bit. And so anything that can help make what is going on in the city really accessible to citizens, and to help kind of amplify those voices. And then I think as I think about the budget advisory committee, it really, there are just so many inherent tensions and difficulties and struggles, and we want, it really all comes down to the budget. With endless money, we could do everything, and there's a lot of things that we want to do, and it has to make sense in the budget. And so I think that Inglewood has worked really hard on that, and that's something that I want to help contribute to. So again, not sure if that's an improvement, but something I'd like to see.
Great, thank you.
It's good to see you. Regular attendance and engagement in boards and commissions is required, obviously, to make them successful and beneficial. Do you have any concerns about regular attendance with the boards you've applied to?
Yeah, I don't know the exact meeting schedule. I do travel probably four times a year on international trips that are about a week in duration. And so there could be some minor scheduling conflicts. Aside from that, I would be very committed to regular attendance.
Just so you know, the Budget Advisory Committee meets the fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:15 in this room.
Okay, I didn't know if that was going to change, so.
So far, I think it's been this way for a while.
Yeah. No specific conflicts there. Great.
1 minute.
All right, good evening, Ms. Cooper, Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. My question for you tonight is how would your service on one of these boards benefit you either personally or professionally?
Yeah, I'm interested in getting involved, not so much for personal or professional benefit. However, I am excited, as a data analyst, I'd be excited to get involved in budget oversight in a larger scale with a budget that is, larger than what I've worked with in the past. I think that would be a benefit to me professionally. Personally, I'm looking forward to getting to know city stakeholders and even my neighbors better through the process.
Very good, thank you.
All right, Ms. Cooper, actually, we're just at time. So we're gonna be deliberating after tonight or tomorrow's, after tomorrow's interviews. We'll make final placement on Monday night, after which the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placements. So it's great to meet you. Congratulations, by the way. And yeah, it's great to meet you, and thank you very much for your willingness to serve again, so.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a great evening, y'all.
All right, everyone, that was our